So we continue with the beautiful Bhishma Stuti, remembering Krishna in various ways. He says, Tribhuvana Kamanam Tamala Varnam Ravikara Gauravambaram Dadhane Vapura Laka Kulavritanam Abjam Vijaya Sakhe Ratirastu Me Anavadya. So he refers to Krishna as Vijaya Sakhe. Vijaya is the name for Arjuna. May I cherish motiveless love for Krishna, the friend of Vijaya. So that is the primary quality of surrender, is love without any motive. Who has assumed a personality that is charming to the three worlds. Tribhuvana Kamanam means the one whose personality, one whose form is so charming for everyone. Tamala Varnam, who has got this dark cloud-like complexion, clad in excellent robes, brilliant like the rays of the sun, and whose lotus-like face has his curly locks of hair floating about it. So he is envisioning, he is having Krishna right there, but he is also envisioning Krishna in the battlefield. Unlike even Arjuna, who was behind Krishna sitting in his chariot, Bhishma was fighting Arjuna, therefore he was having the full vision of Krishna as Parthasarathi, glorifying Krishna both as this beautiful form as well as the impersonal essence of the whole universe. In the next verse he says, Yudi Taragara Jo Vidam Vishwa Kacha Lulita Shrama Varya Alankrutasye Mama Nishita Sharair Vibidya Bhanatvachi Vilasat Kvachet Astu Krishna Atma. He says, may my mind, body and soul rest in Krishna, whose face is hemmed all around by flowing hair with dust raised by the hoofs of the horses, and having drops of perspiration, and whose skin is pierced by sharp arrows. And he is looking most divine in this form as the charioteer of Arjuna. So Bhishma envisions that scene. He says, may my mind, body and soul, everything completely rest in Krishna. He says, Sapadi Sakivacho Nishamya Madhye Nijaparayor Balayo Ratham Niveshya Stitavati Parasainika Yurakshna Hatavati Partha Sakhe Ratir Mamastu. So in every verse he brings forth various activities that happened in the war itself. So in the next he glorifies how Gita comes about. He says, may I have unmotivated love for the friend of Partha, friend of Arjuna, who, what he did was, when his friend asked him to take his chariot to the middle of the battlefield, he did so and placed it in the middle of the battlefield. So this is how the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita starts, when Arjuna tells Krishna, "O Krishna, please take my chariot to the middle of the battlefield. I want to see both the armies." So accordingly, Krishna takes the chariot to the middle of the battlefield. So that's referred to here by Bhishma. He says he took the chariot and drove Arjuna to the middle of the battlefield, in the middle of the Pandava and Kaurava armies. He says, Stitavati Parasainika Yurakshna. He placed the chariot in the middle of the two senas, the two armies, according to his friend's instruction. And he made Arjuna see both the armies very clearly. And in fact, this vision of the two armies is what makes Arjuna become weak in his knees, because the moment he sees the two armies, he recognizes that these are all cousins, these are all uncles, brothers, father-in-law. Everyone is related to everyone on the other side. It's a civil war, and both sides have grown up together. They have the same lineage. So, and his teachers are on the other side, his uncles, and Bhishma, as we saw, is on the other side. So, seeing all this is when Arjuna gets bewildered. And when Arjuna gets bewildered, of course, Krishna instructs him Gita, which essentially points to Arjuna, the supreme wisdom, and the recognition that everything is done by the divine energy. So Krishna says, I have done everything, you are simply an instrument, and therefore do not consider yourself a doer, just do your duty. And that instruction was the essence of Gita, which has, of course, all aspects of self-knowledge covered in great detail. So Bhishma recollects that this happened, and that Krishna who drove Arjuna to the middle of the battlefield, who is standing here right now, may I have motiveless love for him. Now he continues, he says, Vyavahati Vyavahita Pritanamukham Nirikshya Swajanadha Vimukasya Dosha Buddhya Kumati Maharadatma Vidya Yas Charanaratih Paramasya Tasya Mestu. So he continues and he says, after he brought Arjuna to the middle of the battlefield, what happened was Arjuna was bewildered. So he refers that to, he says, when Arjuna saw the generals on both sides and saw that these were all his relatives, and he was caught in delusion because of the army, and he was disinclined to fight because he thought wrongly that it was him doing all this. And at that time, Krishna imparted the spiritual wisdom in the form of Gita. So he says, may I be blessed with devotion, motiveless devotion to the Supreme Being, who, by imparting spiritual knowledge in the form of Gita, dispelled the delusion of his friend Arjuna. Arjuna, who on seeing us as the hostile army, felt disinclined to fight due to wrong thinking. So, dosha buddhya means due to mistake in his discernment, in his thinking, he thought it was wrong and he got deluded into inaction and he wanted to just give up the fight and go, not recognizing that that's actually coming out of the ego. His duty as a warrior is to take care of the people, and the people are suffering because of the wrong rulers, and to win them is his duty, and that is as ordained. And instead to have false compassion, which is not compassion because it results in millions of people suffering if he is not fighting the bad guys. So Krishna instructs him that you are having false compassion and recognize that you are not the doer anyway. All this is as ordained, and your duty is to do what you are supposed to do and not attach to the results and not even think you are the doer. Because in reality, you are not the doer. It's all done by me, the divine energy. He goes on and he says, Swanigamam apahaya mat pratignyam ritam adikritam avapluto ratastaha dhritarata charanobhya chalad grihar ariva hantumivam gatotariyaha. Breaking his own vow to not take up arms in order to fulfill and exalt my vow of compelling him to take up arms, Krishna jumped down from the car, from the chariot, and like a lion, he darted towards me with the wheel of his chariot in his hand, and with his upper garment dropping behind him. And then he says, after that, hit with piercing arrows of a desperado like me, and bathed in blood, Mukunda walks out of the chariot in order to, as it were, kill me, and that Mukunda, may I have motiveless love for him. Mukunda means the one who bestows mukti or liberation, the one who is ever bestowing the essence of what is right now, the one who removes the ignorance of the false attachment to me and mine, by which one can recognize the ever-present Supreme Being here and now. That's Mukunda. It says, Shritavishik kahato vishirna damshaha kshatajaparipplutu atatiya me prasabhama bimasara madhartam sa bhavatu me bhagavan datir mukundaha. So, may Bhagavan Mukunda be my only destination, my only interest, my only focus in this moment. In my last moments, may I only focus on him. And he goes on to say, again, may I, in my last moments, have only motiveless love for the Lord, who, having taken upon himself the responsibility to protect the chariot of Arjuna, took the charioteer's whip in one hand and held the horse's reins in the other, and looked most attractive in the charming role, witnessing which anyone who fell on the battlefield, they got the darshan of Krishna as they were dying, and because of that they were all liberated. So Bhishma says that everyone who was there, they saw the charming Krishna, seeing this majestic look of Krishna wielding the chariot and driving it and managing the horses and the chariot beautifully. Seeing this itself, everyone who was there was liberated. And may I have motiveless love for Krishna, who thus liberated everyone. He says, Vijaya Rata Kutumba Atatotre Dhritahaya Rashamni Tat Shriye Kshaniye Bhagavati Ratirastu Me Mumurshayamiha Nirikshya Hata Gata Sarupam. Sarupam means they all attained the same form. It's called Sarupya Mukti, and Sarupam means recognizing the Swarupa, the essence, which is non-different from the one Supreme Being. So everyone who is attached to the sense of me considers his form to be the body or the mind or thoughts and so on. When that delusion is removed, the true form is recognized, which is Swarupa. Giving them this benediction, he liberated everyone. So he says, Bhagavati Ratirastu Me Nirikshya Hatagata Sarupam. So the one who gave liberation to everyone in the battlefield, may my love be in that Supreme Being. So he goes on to say, after glorifying Krishna and expressing his motiveless love for Krishna in the various forms in which he appears in the war, then he says, he remembers a pastime which he was not a direct witness of, but it's the most famous of all. He says, having had the honor of enjoying the sight of his charming gait, graceful movements, and enchanting smiles, the cowherd women, in their mad ecstasy during the rasa dance, imitated his place and thereby became one with him. So this refers to the famous Leela called Rasa Leela that happens in Vrindavan, which comes in the 10th skanda in great detail. So the verse is, lalita gati vilasa valguhasa pranaya nirikshana kalpitorumanaha kritamanu kritavatya unmadandha prakritim agan kila yasya gopavadvaha. So the Gopavadhus, the young gopis, that is, of Vrindavan, they were in such love of Krishna. So it is described when Krishna appears, there is different moods in which various pastimes were enacted by various devotees. So there is the mood of friendship that Arjuna we saw, or Uddhava, or many of the friends have, which is very close and intimate. Even more so is, and that's called Sakhya Rasa. Even more so is the closeness of the parents, such as Yashoda and Nanda, who saw Krishna as their own child, baby Krishna, and therefore they would even punish him and chastise him, and they had such liberties with him in love, and such love is called as paternal or maternal love. It's called Vatsalya Rasa. But the highest and the most intimate love is that of the gopis of Vrindavan, who had Krishna as their beloved, and they sought him as their husband, and so their love is called as Madhurya Rasa. And this Rasa of Madhurya is the sweetest and the most intimate, where they saw Krishna as their beloved, and they only therefore could think of him and nothing else, and every day they would simply want to be with Krishna. And so one full moon night he obliges them by drawing them to the banks of Yamuna by playing his beautiful flute, the Venuganam. They are all drawn to the moonlit banks of Yamuna. It's described so beautifully. It's a full moon day in autumn called Sharat Purnima. An autumn full moon is always very clear because the monsoon is over, there are no clouds, and there is clear moonlight making the banks of Yamuna well lit, and in that Krishna plays the flute. They are all drawn to the flute and they all surround him. He first teases them to go back to their houses because they have all come away. They have no attachment to any worldly relations, whether it be their children or whether their parents or whether even their wedded spouses, their husbands, because all the earthly relations they walked out of to be with Krishna. And so once they express their complete surrender unto Krishna, then Krishna engages in a beautiful dance with them called Rasa Leela. And during the dance, when Krishna, in order to intensify their mood of intimacy, because they also get a little tinge of pride that they have got Krishna by their side, and in order to remove that, Krishna vanishes for a little bit in that night. And so when he vanishes, they look for him here and there, and then their whatever little pride they had is completely removed, and then they are now in intense mood of separation, and they are imitating the moves of Krishna. One gopi is acting like Krishna and the other gopi is acting like the gopi dancing with Krishna, and in this way they are saying they are enacting the dance of Krishna while intensely missing him. So that is what Bhishma recounts here, that the gopis, enchanted by his charming movements and smiles and his glances, and when he vanishes for a bit, they start imitating his movements and they are mad in ecstasy. And when they are so mad in ecstasy, he comes back and there is the highest consummation of their wonderful union. which is described in the 10th skanda. So this whole pastime is the most confidential, most intimate, and the most celebrated pastime of Krishna, marking the highest expression of divine love. So Bhishma recounts that and says that Krishna, who did this most wonderful pastime, may I have motiveless love for him. Then he says, he remembers the Rajasuya sacrifice of Yudhishthira, where Krishna was honored by everyone, and though it was filled with sages and rishis and everyone, the first honor was given to Krishna. And that sacrifice he remembers. He says, Munigana Nripavarya Samkule Anta Sadasi Yudhishthira Rajasuya Esham Arhanam Upapeda Ikshaniyo Mama Drishi Gochara Esha Aviratma. He says, in the assembly crowded with hosts of sages and princes during the Rajasuya sacrifice of Yudhishthira, it is Krishna who attracted the eyes of them all, and he was given the honor of being worshipped first. And it is he, the soul of the universe, who has now appeared before me. Then finally he says, having shaken off the foolish idea of diversity, I have realized that the unborn Lord, who though one, is severally enthroned in the heart of all embodied beings, brought forth by himself, just as the sun, even though one, appears as many to every eye. So this is the last verse. He says, Tamimam maham ajam sharira bhajam hridi hridi dishtitam atma kalpitanam pratidrishamiva naika dharka mekam samadhigatosi vidhuta bheda moha. So vidhuta bheda moha means my idea of diversity is gone, because I've realized that the unborn Supreme Lord, Ajam means the one who is unborn. I've realized that the unborn Supreme Lord is alone, enthroned in the hearts of all beings. Even though sun is one, it is seen by many in different parts of the world, and they all think the sun has risen here and there, but it's only one sun, though it's seen by billions of people in different ways. Similarly, the Supreme Being is only one, and he alone appears in the hearts of all. In fact, there is nothing other than him, and he alone appears as all that there is. And therefore, Bhishma recognizes this, and in this moment, after going through all the wonderful pastimes of Krishna that's running through his memory, recognizing this, it is said Bhishma merged into the source. He left his body, his breath dissolved into the atmospheric air. It is said his prana became one with the element of air. And perceiving that Bhishma has entered into the supreme realm, everyone became silent, as birds become silent at the close of day. It is such an auspicious departure, and that's how Bhishma's story ends.